Welcome, everybody, to Athletically Speaking, Wagon Wheel Sports College Football Show. Today, I'm with Ryan.
Hello.
And we are talking about the ACC. We are back with our summertime breakdowns of the Power Four now. Rip the Pac-12. The Power Four conferences. And we're starting alphabetical order with the ACC. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing mediocre. How are you?
About the same,
Good. It's better than
Saturday afternoon.
It's better than anything. I don't know.
That's right. Better than not being good.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
All right, you ready to get into this stuff?
No, I'm just kidding. Yes.
All right, so number one on the docket today, so with our college football news section of this, the SEC has scheduled their things for 2025, their games, and they are going with the same 8-game format that they have in 2024 that they've been doing since forever. And I still think they're being wieners.
Yeah.
They need to play a 9-game conference and catch up with the rest of the people. But OU's got the same. I mean, from what I can tell, everybody's playing the same exact teams that they're playing in 2024
Just
to 2025.
swapped her.
Just the locations are switched on it.
Yeah.
Which is dumb because I want to play Arkansas.
Oh, for real. Like, I would love just to make the quick drive up to Fayetteville and see them play there. That'd be great. And they have to make some kind of rivalry out of it, too, I think.
They should. I think that'll be a nice bedlam filler there.
Yeah.
And it'll get there eventually. Just not today, it seems. But hopefully that happens in 26. And what I'm about to get to later in all of this is that, which pertains to today's episode, is that I think they're planning on expanding further. And they're planning on taking off some ACC teams. It's going to make them wait a little bit before they finally settle on a scheduling format that's going to work for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So once that all shakes out and settles, which we'll talk about today and whatnot, and then some more of the FSU and Clemson saga with their lawsuits going on with the ACC and stuff, but we'll get to more of that here later. Today, I wanted to bring you a trivia question.
No, I'm not good with trivia.
Are you ready for this?
No, I'm not.
So as it stands, without the inclusions of SMU, California, and Stanford, the ACC has 15 members, with Notre Dame being half a member there. And the ACC was founded in 1953. That's a long time ago.
Well, it is.
Who were the founding 8 members of the Atlantic Coast Conference? Go.
Because first of all, I don't work well under pressure.
That's great.
So don't judge me. Still do it. Is Boston College maybe?
Boston College is not on the list.
Are they not? Oh shit! I don't even.
They joined later.
Okay. Clemson on there.
Clemson is one of them. Yes.
FSU on there. I'm assuming maybe.
Florida State was not. They were an independent.
Okay.
They joined in the 90s.
It shows how much I know about Miami.
Miami was in the Big East for a long time before they were an independent, so they are not on the list.
I'm just running through the list. NC State.
NC State is one of the members.
You
got 2 out of 8.
I'm having a complete brain fart right now.
You got NC State. Who's the other side of that?
Oh, well.
Same state. Flagship program.
North Carolina. I'm like, wait a minute.
The Tar Heels are one of them, yes.
Like, words don't work well with me. Oh shoot, dude! I don't work well under pressure.
On teams.
Oh, for real, dude.
You got 3 of 8.
Listen. I am.
This one is a very big basketball school. 2 of them are actually.
Why am I?
Who's the biggest blue brand in the ACC?
I feel so stupid right now.
Who's in the NCAA tournament right now?
I don't watch basketball. Bro, I'm having a.
Just tell me when you give up.
Can you just tell me?
Give up?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Don't judge. Okay, if you're out there listening, don't judge me. All right. Anyways.
All right. The one that I feel like was the most obvious here was the Duke Blue Devils.
Oh, dang it.
They were a founding member. Wake Forest was a founding member of the ACC. Virginia, founding member. Maryland, the Terrapins before they moved into the Big Ten now. And then the last one you probably weren't going to get. But the South Carolina Gamecocks were a founding member of the ACC before leaving for independence and then eventually the SEC in the 1990s.
Definitely would not have gotten that.
93 actually is when they joined with Arkansas.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that. And the more you know.
The more you know, right?
I don't work well under pressure at all. So
well, that's okay. That's the first of 4 conference trivia questions for you.
Which it won't be a thing much longer anyways. The ACC.
The ACC will probably not. Which leads us into our next thing here. They have currently, as it stands, survived conference realignment.
For now.
And the biggest question is what can they do to keep FSU and Clemson and others from leaving? And did they leave eventually anyway?
I mean, I think they will leave. I think that they're pretty fed up with everything and not getting what they want, the money, and then just getting left out of the. I know it has the play. I know that doesn't, they wouldn't want to leave before, but that's just kind of like a cherry on top type thing.
That was like the last straw. It's like if we're going to be put out by the SEC and the Big Ten anyway, why not just be a part of those
bigger conferences and we won't be looked over. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll leave anyways, but I don't think there is a way.
I
longer than a season or two.
I agree with that because if you're looking at the lawsuits, what they've had, FSU's had their lawsuit for a while, which is over the grant of rights, and they want to take all that with them because they're looking around, they're seeing Oklahoma, Texas, and these schools getting $50 million per school. Like Vanderbilt's getting paid for more than some of these bigger name brands elsewhere. And why should Vanderbilt make it $50-60 million? And the FSU's a better football team than they are.
Yeah.
So why is that? Why should they have to take less for being better than them?
I agree.
So FSU and Clemson are definitely getting out. One thing that I saw here recently that FSU put back into the suit against the ACC was that FSU is asking why they should have to keep the grant of rights with the ACC 12 years after they leave, which the grant of rights ends in 2036. And if you're doing the math, 12 years prior to 2036 is 2024. So is Florida State and Clemson planning on leaving the ACC in 2024 after this football season? Sure sounds like it.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Once they get through all this, and it goes back to the SEC scheduling, I feel like they both know where they're going to land.
Yeah.
They both have an invite in hand. They're just trying to find their way out of it.
Yeah.
And once they find that way out, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have that invite in hand.
Yeah. So
I feel like I'm with you. They leave eventually. Clemson just joined here recently, but they had the same questions. They shouldn't be able to. They should be able to leave without paying several. What did you say? $572 million.
Yeah.
In fees to leave the ACC.
Yeah.
So it's all going to be crumbling down. Quite frankly, the ACC's probably survived because of that grant of rights. But right now they're just trying to get out of it.
Yeah. For sure.
How do you feel that all this is going to shake out? And if this continues to go the way it looks like it's going to go, where do these teams land?
I 100% either the SEC or Big Ten. They're not going to the Big 12.
Well, what about some of these mid-majors? You think they're going to be the Big 12's going to scoop them up? Miami's, NC State, Virginia's, Virginia Tech's. College, Wake Forest. Where does the Big 12 draw the line?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's better than to keep to expand and then like the Big Ten and SEC just get the teams and you have these two they're already big super conferences, but
16.
I mean that would be wild. That's what I think is going to happen eventually. I mean, probably I think we've talked about it before. The SEC and Big Ten are just going to merge and then they're having their own maybe little
their own thing.
Like regional. I don't know.
It's basically going to become what it was, just with two conferences.
Yeah.
We brought like into the NFL where it's the SEC North, the SEC West, SEC South, and
yeah,
you're gonna have like 4 team pods.
Ridiculous.
4 pods of 4 or something like that. And
Something like that. Well, is what's going to end up happening, I think.
Well, you got to think.
Uh,
I've seen various rumors that Florida State would end up in the Big Ten, and I don't feel like that would happen personally. But I mean, you never know with anything. I think the biggest thing that the Big Ten has their eyes on is Notre Dame, which
yeah,
is a half affiliate of the ACC. They're independent in football, but every other sport that Notre Dame plays is within the ACC.
yeah,
So to see Notre Dame likely go to the Big Ten, where they can play USC every year, they can play Michigan, they can play Ohio State, some of those rivals that they have, it's probably going to be very important to Notre Dame. So if it's going to be push come to shove, I mean, maybe Notre Dame is happy with their deal with NBC.
mm-hmm.
That's very possible. I don't
Yeah.
know, but if they can't pick them up, they're definitely going to go after probably the North Carolinas of the world. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Big Ten get Duke along with North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Probably I mean, they want to push into the South, so Florida State, Miami, possibly headed to the Big Ten if they can get up to 20 teams with Duke, UNC, Miami, and Virginia. Probably
Mm-hmm.
would be like a Big Ten fit. I could see the SEC not necessarily taken from all of theirs from the ACC, but the SEC could grab Miami, Clemson, probably Virginia Tech, and then maybe like Oklahoma State out of the Big 12, bringing
Yeah.
them in. And then the
Yeah.
rest of those go backfill into the Big 12 and whoever else is left.
Yeah.
But you got to feel that Boston College and them in the ACC with like Wake Forest, some of those guys probably still going to be left out to the cold.
Yeah.
This one's like what Washington State and Oregon State's dealing with right now.
Oh, for sure. I hate it for the newcomers of the ACC. They just join
real,
and then bam, like, oh, it's falling apart.
And that's
So
that's not even to
like
say
that's so
what they
discouraging.
got, because SMU is year one this upcoming year into the ACC. Stanford and California is both year
Out there,
one.
same boat. Yeah.
And by the time all this shakes out, the Big 12 didn't want them the first time. Why would they want them the second time, you know?
Yeah.
So it sucks because, especially with
It'll
Stanford,
be-
they have a great athletic program. They win the Directors' Cup almost every year.
Yeah.
Their athletics are good, but the
Yeah.
sport that brings in the money, football,
Yeah.
basketball, is not good.
No.
And I feel like that's a big push to this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe they find the footing eventually, like they did
Eventually,
in 2010s or
well,
something.
yeah,
But
Stanford
'cause they have good
used to be
history.
good.
They used to be. Yeah.
Andrew Luck, Toby
Yeah.
Gerhardt,
Mm-hmm.
they had talent. They were pushing
Freaking-
for a national title at one
Freaking,
point.
they got Harbaugh up in there, and
Yep.
it's but
California used to be good,
yeah.
but right now, as it stands, they aren't
I feel
where
for
they
them.
used to be.
No.
And now it sucks because at a time where you want to be good, you're not good,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just being detrimental to your school facilities and everything.
So a lot of these schools are going to be left out to the wolves, and just whatever happens. And
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see how things shake out here the next year or two.
Well, especially with the CFP expanding to 14 teams now.
Yeah.
And what is currently on the docket, which if the ACC falls apart, that's going to be a big problem, and they'll have to reorganize the whole thing. But the Big Ten and the SEC is supposed to be getting several million, like 50, 60 million of that.
Mhm.
Or I think that's per team for their media deals. But I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it's between those two conferences is like 32 to 38 million a piece out of the playoff revenue, and then the Big 12 and the ACC is getting like 20 to 25 million roughly, and then whatever's left is getting like 10 million with G5 and whoever.
Yeah.
So you want to find a conference, and you really want to find the Big Two, but
yeah, just find a home.
Find a home.
Yeah.
All right. Enough sadness. Enough of the sadness.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing, who out of the new members, which is SMU, Clemson, or not Clemson, SMU, Stanford, and California, is going to do the best year one in 2024?
I would say SMU for sure. I mean, they're coming off of that conference win, their championship, and they did decent. They're 11-3. I would say they're. I definitely know Stanford's dead last, like we were talking about earlier. They have not been relevant since they haven't made a bowl game since like 2018 or 2019. So they're last. So that puts Cal in second place, which they were 6-7 last season. But yeah, I got SMU, Cal, and Stanford. Yes, poor Stanford.
Stanford.
they suck.
No, I got the same list from SMU, Cal, Stanford, and you got to think the Pac-12 was surprisingly deep last year.
They were. They really were.
You had Washington, Oregon State was good,
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, USC, UCLA, like all those schools were good, and they had depth. Colorado for the first 4 games of the year were great.
The first part, I thought USC was making it, Colorado, and then bam, just crashed
all over themselves.
Yeah.
But no, Stanford.
Which they have that new coach. I forgot his name, but he was last season, which was their. Maybe they can kind of because he was at another school, Sacramento or State or
Troy
smaller.
Taylor,
Yeah, he did decent. I don't know much about him. It's only his second season, so maybe he'll turn things
around.
And
the
for him.
ACC is easier, so you would think that from last year to this year that all 3 of those teams should be able to make a jump. Not to say that SMU has it any easier because they won 11 games in the American. So 11 games in the ACC is going to be much more difficult. Competing against Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, etc. Like those teams are going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
But SMU is probably the most poised to do the best out of the new teams, even though that those teams have been in a power conference. So they're just not. They don't have the talent to be there.
Not yet.
But maybe they'll get there.
Hopefully.
Maybe they'll get there.
Hopeful for them.
So I have a whole thing here. And for each of these conference breakdowns, I want to do a surprise team out of the conference. I want you to give me your worst team out of the conference.
Okay.
Who you have in your title game. And then who your champion is going to be.
I feel like
off the ACC.
Who's going to be in the title game is literally this just about the same. You have 2 teams come to your mind, but
the first 2 that you can think of is probably them.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go first. Who is your surprise team in the ACC 2024?
Maybe this year I was thinking Miami. I mean they were also starting out decent, I believe. Last season. But then they also just fell completely apart. But I know they got that new quarterback, Cam Ward, and a couple.
Where did he come from?
He came from Oregon State. Or something like that. And he did well there. I was looking at his stats earlier, and he had and he was there for 2 years, and he had I have his stats wrote down somewhere. 7,000 passing yards, 48 TDs, 16 interceptions.
That's pretty good.
And it's pretty good. 66% passing. A couple other weapons, and they have a new. No, I'm thinking of the wrong people. I don't know. I think they'll be better, hopefully, with him.
This is third year of head coach there at Miami.
Yes, and hopefully he makes some better decisions then, because I know last year he made some questionable.
Well, yeah, the whole thing that ruined their season was the freaking ball.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Against
I forgot.
Georgia Tech, I think.
I forgot. Yeah,
and they fumbled it, and Georgia Tech went down the field. And
you gotta be better. That's simple, fundamental rules of football. You gotta be better than that.
You take a knee, and you have the lead.
That's true. That is
in the waning seconds of the game.
Quit trying to showboat or whatever you're doing. Just be smarter.
Well, you saw that one guy who was cursing on the screen. I was like, what the F are we doing?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'd be the same. There's a lot of I think I saw that a couple times that year, and then there's a lot of people this year too, very random, but that were dropping the football before he would get in the end zone. I know that's happened before, but I feel like it was rampant this last year. That was ridiculous.
There was a lot of sloppy play, I feel like, just around the country.
There was.
2023, so hopefully that's better. Yeah. Better coaching, I guess.
No, there's something. Who's your surprise team?
So my surprise team, I'm going to go back to SMU, and I feel that SMU is a team that can come in and make waves in the ACC right out of the gate. And I say this on part to SMU won those 11 games last year in 2023. Granted, they were in the American Athletic Conference. It's a little easier. but they've been consistently good.
Yeah.
They've won 8 to 10 games in the past 2 to 3 years, winning 11 last year. Their coach, Rhett Lashley, is a good man. He's in his second year. Should be able to take a step up. You got the people behind you. SMU uh, boosters want SMU to be good. I think Lashley is the guy that can get them there and keep them there, especially in the ACC for whatever that may be for the foreseeable future. If they can keep that intact, I think SMU could really be a dominant player in the ACC race moving forward. Preston Stone, he comes back in 24. The defense in 2022 that allowed 33.8 points per game came back in 23 and only allowed 17.8 points per game, which was a massive reason that they won 11 games. I think the defense is going to be as good as it was last year. And if Preston Stone's coming back, the offense should still be as electric as it was in 23. So I think SMU can easily be a top 5, top 8 team and now a 17-team ACC. And being from where they came, I don't think they're going to be like a Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, or Houston in the Big 12 last year where they went and combined like 3 and 20 something against the Big 12. I think SMU can be better, and I think they will be better in the ACC this year. So I look forward to them coming back, bringing that talent, and making a push to be a top 5 team in the ACC.
For sure, I'm excited to see them what they do this season.
Who's your worst team?
The worst is definitely Stanford. I think I talked about them earlier. They hadn't even been bowl eligible in quite some time. Yeah, they've been. I don't think they've even had like a 4. I don't know for sure. I know last season they went 3-9. I don't think they've had more than cracked like 4 wins or. Well, they haven't been bowl eligible, so they haven't won more than 5. So I mean that's. Yeah, I don't. Which I mean they. Hopefully they'll do better. Like I said, they have that new coach, so there's always gonna be hiccups in the first season. So hopefully they do better. And they have. I was looking at the recruits earlier, and they've got for the most part like 3-star recruits. They got a couple 4-star. I don't know much about them, but hopefully I'm hopeful for them to do better.
It's not always about the star level. It's about can the coaching staff develop?
That is true.
Well or not, and
that is very true.
Taylor gets to see if he can develop or not because going from that 3 wins last year to this year is going to be in a softer conference. Should be able to tell how well you can develop these guys.
But I'd be willing to bet they're the worst. I saw their Vegas ratings too. They were like it was like 3.5, 4. That's so tough. That'd be I'd probably put money on that. But
bet the under.
Yeah.
No, my worst team as well is Stanford. I feel like that's a pretty safe bet that Stanford's probably not going to be very good. A lot of what you mentioned, Troy Taylor in his second year, going 3-9, and 5 of those losses last year were by 30 points or more. That's not great.
No, it's not.
That's not great at all. Those weren't close. And one of the games that you won in Colorado, you should have lost because Colorado was up, I want to say like 28 points, something along those lines, and they pooped the bed and they beat Colorado in Boulder.
That's wild.
So you should have had another game where you lost by 30-plus points, but somehow you managed to pull that one out. I don't know how you did it, but you did it.
The grace of God right there.
Yeah. So you have 5 losses by 30 points.
Something's wrong. Like I don't think that their new coach will make it long if he continues.
I don't think that's going to be a thing. There's a saying that's called sometimes teams will lose big, lose close, win close, and then win big. And that's like the development of a coach in a situation with a bad team where he comes in and develops players, gets recruits in, and this is where it goes.
Yeah.
Even if that is the case, and Troy Taylor is a great coach at Stanford, he's in his lose close. They lost big. This would be his lose close. I don't think, that they're going to come back. Quarterback Ashton Daniels is bringing back, along with wide receiver Alec Ion Manor, I think is how you pronounce that. They're back in 24. That's their biggest pieces on offense. Whether or not those people can come out and play good is yet to be seen. They didn't do great in 23, clearly. They won 3 games. So maybe if they got a little bit of development in, they've got some talent there, they can do something offensively. The defense, though, they gave up 37.2 points a game
Are bad
in 2023, which is real bad.
real bad.
So you gotta do something defensively. I'm currently not aware of what staff changes they may have made,
No, the
but
same.
hopefully they did something because Stanford is not in a great place last year, and I don't expect them to be in a much better place come this
No,
season.
yeah. I mean, you have hopes, but I don't realistically see them being better as
Mm-mm.
well.
And especially, they struggling to get people into the games and stuff like that. So none of these teams that you're going to be playing in the ACC is going to be worth your time really to
Mm-hmm.
be in there. So
Yeah.
maybe unique matchups might get some guys in there, but if you can't get the crowd engagement, then it's probably still not going to be worth it for you. But that's the worst team
No. Oh
in
yeah.
the ACC for this year. Who is your title game pick?
The FSU or Clemson. I feel like they're in it for the most part every single year. And it's always Clemson too. So usually, obviously, last year that wasn't the case. Um, but I have them too. They are looking the best per usual, and pretty. I don't. Obviously, the ACC is not my. I don't know much about a lot of stuff. Obviously, with my trivia questions earlier, but I know enough. It'll be one of them two. I'm gonna put my money on at least. So.
I would agree. Clemson, FSU. I'm going to talk more about uh, one of these two here in a minute, and I've still yet to decide a champion, so this is going to be on the spot
Mm.
deciding. But um, it's a little bit on both, I guess. Like FSU, Norvell, I don't think is going to get to exactly replicate the magic he had last year. They missed the playoff and what was a very questionable take by the committee.
Yeah.
But I think he is going to rebuild. Um, the biggest thing about some of these teams is that FSU has depth and they have talent. Like the Georgia game may not have seemed that way,
Which that was all of their
but
backup,
that
I
was
believe,
all of the
wasn't it?
backup players. So those guys, we just may not know yet. We may not know their name, but I think we will know their name by the end of 2024. I think
No.
Florida State is going to replace some of these people, plug back in team players. It's going to make their team still good. Um, somewhere in here, I have their schedule. So Florida State's schedule, I think, is a little sneaky tough
No.
in 2024. They have Clemson on October 5th, Notre Dame at Notre Dame at that, November 9th, at Miami, October 26th. They have a sneaky tough game, I think, against at SMU in Dallas on September 28th.
Yeah.
That's going to be a real first test for the Mustangs and really what Florida State and their backup is going to do. They get DJ Uiagalelei coming in from transfer from Clemson to Oregon State to Florida State. Little thing that gets him back to the ACC, but he comes in which I think he's a good quarterback, and I
Yeah.
think that Florida State's got the receivers that can get him there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that he should be able to not necessarily cakewalk through the schedule, but he's been in tough games. I
Yeah.
mean, he's been there at Clemson. He's played. He knows what to expect out of the ACC, and I think Florida State found a solid quarterback that can replace Jordan Travis, and that he's going to be able to do what they want him to do at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like I said, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and then they end the year, of course, with Florida, November 30th. But those like 5, 6 games are really that's half their season, and that's
Mm-hmm.
tough games that they're going to have to do with.
Yeah.
So that's a sneaky tough schedule, but I think Florida State and Uiagalelei, which should be good. On top of the quarterback transfers, they have more coming in. They've refilled in spots that they just don't have depth at. They've
Mm-hmm.
brought people in. And then on top of that, Patrick Payton, one of the ACC's top returning defenders, is coming in or is returning, and he's going to be solid on the defense side of the ball. I think Florida State's going to be there in the title game. I would just feel like that's a pretty safe bet for them.
Yeah.
Same thing with Clemson. They've won the
Much last.
final
Mm-hmm.
5 games of
Mm-hmm.
2023. They found their stride with Klubnik.
Yeah.
The defense improved heavily from the first start of the year, where they lost to Duke in the first game of the season. They bring him back a lot of people on the defensive side. The biggest question for Clemson is going to be, can Riley make chemistry between the receivers and Klubnik? Can they improve on the offensive line? That's Clemson's biggest questions, and I think that they are going to be able to do that. So those are my two teams. It's definitely going to be in the title game come December.
Yep.
With that, who is your champion of the ACC?
Between those two, I've got Clemson down. Just because I like some of the weapons they have. They got Klubnik coming back. He's starting to get kind of seasoned. I think it's his third season, I believe. And then last year was an off year for him, but like you were talking about with Garrett Riley, it's got to build some chemistry between the quarterback and the receivers. And they didn't really have, like you said, their defense improved drastically towards the end of the season. But they didn't really have like a strong running game. They were awful last year compared to what they normally are. But they only had a couple weapons offensively. And I know they got a new receiver coming in. He was a pretty big 4 or 5 star, Bryant Wesso. They'll have him, I've watched the videos. They're really excited about him, and I'm excited to see what he does for him as well. Got a lot of starters come back to the O line, and I don't know. I have them, but I don't know for sure. Okay, we'll see. I got Clemson down. I know though FSU, they're gonna be hungry. Because they're definitely gonna make the playoff now, so that's nice. They could have lost it last year, but they'll be out for blood and want to prove something.
Conference champions get an automatic bid.
That is true. Yeah.
Playoff, so championships sort of need more.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're in the ACC, it means more. Not so much if you're in the Big Ten, where both of your people that's in the championship probably going to be in the playoff anyway.
Yeah.
But so I went back and forth on my champion for a little bit. If you ask me closer to August, I might change my mind. I don't know. But who I originally went with was Clemson. And I think that's who I'm going to stay with. For all the points that you've made, I think Florida State has a little bit of a tougher schedule. So I think that we're really going to see who they are. And the time we get to the ACC championship in December 6th or whatever it is now, I could have a different opinion. But I think Clemson they've found a groove that works for them. And they finished the season with that. I think they're going to be able to start the season in that groove.
Yeah.
Or close enough to it that they can get back in it and progress through the season. However, they got a massive test. We're going to see who Clemson is right off the bat because they go to Georgia. It's in Atlanta. They get Georgia August 31st.
That'll be fun.
That's a tough game.
They'll just come right off the bat and beat them.
Yeah,
exactly. Beat Georgia.
So if they beat Georgia, then it's like, all right, yeah, Clemson's probably pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
So they could do it if they lose that one game and then run the table. They got their next two toughest games.
We won't hold it to them.
Yeah, Florida State October 5th, and then Louisville, who played in the ACC championship last year, on November 2nd. So Georgia is going to be immediately out of the gate. We're going to know what Clemson's made of and if they're any good or not. The last time they played them, they were good, but they had Brent Venables as their defense coordinator. So to see what that defense, what that team is made of, is going to be a haymaker coming out of the gate, and whether or not they're going to be a good team. I think they will. I think they're going to play well with Georgia. I'm not sure that they'd be able to beat them, but I think they're going to be pretty good. And then you have those 2 games later on in the season. Clemson and Virginia Tech could be tough. Virginia Tech was a good team last year, so I think you're going to see that from them. But I think all of that, I think Clemson's games are tougher than Florida State's games. They just got more of them.
Yeah.
So I think that Clemson is going to win the ACC because I think that they're going to be able to handle those tougher games better than Florida State's going to be in the long run.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
You got anything else in the ACC?
No, I don't. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is all we got for this ACC breakdown. In a couple weeks, we'll be ready for the Big Ten and what we got looking under there.
That'll be exciting.
All right. That is
Well,
all we got for Athletically Speaking.
bye bye.